How many of you have loaded into a ranked game and you're ready to go, you're gonna climb some elo, and boom, this happens. Goes into the middle of the fountain and is permanently AFK, and you wonder, are they gonna load back into the game? And then they don't. They don't come back at 3 minutes, they don't come back at 5 minutes, they don't come back at 10 minutes. You are entering a game of ranked with 4v5, no loss prevention, and you just have to get on with it. How can we win these games? Because it is possible, you can win these games, but it's hard. I'm going to caveat that it is hard, and you need to have a very huge personal performance. So we're going to talk about that after a small sponsorship on the channel. I'm really thankful to Sideswipe, the Rocket League mobile game, for sponsoring the channel. I actually have been playing the living daylights out of this game, and I've played it way more since I actually recorded this small video for you guys, and I'm actually going to probably start producing some content for it because I'm absolutely loving the game. It is a free-to-play, like Rocket football game, Rocket like car football game. You guys who know Rocket League, you will find this very familiar. Those of you that don't know Rocket League, take a look. I'm in love with this game. I loved Rocket League on PC. Sideswipe is 10 times more baller for me. On mobile, fast-paced, super high octane energy with the same kind of control and badass moves that you can make. This game is awesome, and I can't wait to play more of it. Right, in the air. In the air, easy like, little backwards. Oh, he saved it, but I'm up. Little backwards tap. Oh. It's not that impressive, but I'm very excited. Okay, little cheeky tap in, up in the air, little backwards. Oh, he's already on it, up in the air. Oh no. No. Oh, it's a save. Look at that. Just call me De Gea. Oh no! Oh gosh. That's right. Up in the air. And then we're just looking to flip it backwards. This guy's giving me a little bit of. Oh, there's no way. Come on. Oh, that was a nice little sequence of play. That was cheeky. Right, we're going for the straight goal. And we boost and we slap it in. See, you know, you just need to be willing to challenge. If you don't challenge those balls, it's just too easy. Oh gosh. Oh, he just walked it in. You can customize your cars, and now I'm a pink car because I am cool as hell. Make sure if you guys want to get involved with this game, it's so much fun. Honestly, I cannot tell you how much fun this game is. If I ever lose at wildrift, this is the game that I'm untilting with because I can just make some badass goals. There's a link in the description below. I'll be doing a longer video with a bit more of the ins and outs of this game for later on, but for the time being, thank you very much for Sideswipe for sponsoring this video. Your game is awesome, and I'm not saying that because you're giving me money, but I'm saying that because it is genuinely awesome, and I very much look forward to playing more and more of this over the Christmas period because it is cool as hell. So the first thing you're going to want to do in this situation is, and honestly, this is the most important step. Step 1. Win lane. This sounds like a really dumb thing, but I'm going to be completely honest with you. This is the most important step because if you can't do this, you will not be powerful enough to transfer your power and try and win the game 4v5. There are obviously certain things that can work in your favor when you're in a 4v5. Let's say that you've got a really good late game scaling hyper carry. For instance, things like Jinx and Vayne are both really good champions to potentially do a 4v5 with because they are the types of champions that can essentially win a game by themselves. So in this case, we're set up for success. Like Jinx Lulu is a pretty good scaling bot lane duo. But in order for us to be powerful enough to cope with the mid game and be strong enough to force the issue in the mid game so that we don't get a split push to death, we have to win the laning phase. So we have to get fed off our opponent laners. So that is the #1 most important thing that you can do to help win in a 4v5 scenario. And right now, we're doing a pretty crappy job of it. Me and, by the way, this is my duo. This is Joey Skaggs. You may have heard of him. He's like a really, really, really good AD carry. I've linked some of his socials and his Twitch channel because he does stream from time to time in the description below. So I'm obviously set up with a really strong AD carry here. We're playing a pretty strong duo, but Nami is a pretty strong option into the laning phase into Lulu, and we are already starting to struggle just a little bit with the Nami Ezreal lane, which can be quite annoying to deal with if you're constantly getting hit with Ezreal's Mystic shots. So in a 4v5 scenario, and by the way, as you can see, our Lux is still AFK. In a 4v5 scenario, your #1 most important thing that you can do is get fed in the laning phase. If you can't do that or you feed, then to be honest with you, you might as well call it game over. Now, in this situation, you can see here, the Rammus is looking for a gank. We knew it was coming because we had the ward. So essentially, we knew that a dive was on the cards because we were getting taken down pretty low, and we knew that, you know, given it was a 4v5, given they knew where the graves were, we knew that a dive was potentially possible. So if I just zoom in here, you can see we put a ward down a long time ago. Sorry about that. So again, we set up because we knew that we were potentially going to get dived. We were getting hit pretty hard with a strong laning opponent. So we kind of knew that it was definitely on the cards. This is why we were playing quite safe towards the tower. We weren't letting ourselves overextend or take any more damage. And then we just managed to get a really strong outplay on the Rammus. Gonna be honest with you, the Rammus didn't exactly make it hard. He kind of walked straight into the Jinx traps under tower. So it was a really easy way to get a reset on the Jinx. Now, this is a really important part of the game. Watch what Jinx bought with 2 kills. This is not always the best item for Jinx. However, in this scenario, this is step 2, and I'm going to just pause it before we get into the action. My handwriting with this is 2. Step 2. The step in this situation is... Why am I mind blanking? Oh yeah, abuse your power spikes. Abuse your spikes. So what I mean by abuse your power spikes is that if you have a look at the item comparison, the Ezreal has a tear and a longsword. The Nami has a whatever the hell, Aether Wisp. The Nami has an Aether Wisp. I have almost got an Ardent Censer completed, and most importantly, Joey's got a Blade of the Ruin King. Abusing your power spikes is really, really, really important. We have just been given a lifeline for this game. The Blade of the Ruin King purchase means that we can now walk straight back to lane and just go in on the enemy duo. That Blade of the Ruin King, because the enemy has used some summoners already, especially the Ezreal, that Blade of the Ruin King is going to slow down a target. We've got a huge chunk of damage output. We have all of our major spells available to us. So this is the time where we need to push our advantage. We're abusing an item power spike to kind of help get us into the winning position. You can see here, flashes away from the bubble. Nami actually has her flash available. Wastes it, if I'm honest with you. And again, we're trying our best in this situation just to do as much damage and be as aggressive as possible. And you can see how much damage that Blade of the Ruin King is doing for the Jinx, you know, for Joey at this stage in time. Now he completely dodges out from the Ahri charm, which is nice. Doesn't quite manage to get the triple kill here, but again, there is another 2 kills for the Jinx because we abused the power spike. So step 1, win your lane or get fed in some way, shape or form. If you don't do that, you're going to struggle, if I'm completely honest with you, or you're relying on someone else on your team to do that. Step number 2, abuse any power spikes that you can. Jinx now has a huge gold lead over Ezreal, about 1,400 gold, and we now have Ardent Censer, which is another nice power spike to use, and that means now actually grouping and fighting for objectives. What you need to do once you've started to get your power spikes and once you've won your lane is step 3. I'm not going to write it. My handwriting's too bad. Step 3 is you essentially have to force the issue. In a lot of situations in a 4v5, that purely means grouping up and trying to fight objectives with your really strong hyper carry, you know, or the person on your team that's really strong. You know, they essentially have to pull the weight of 2 people, and right now that is what Jinx is doing. Jinx is essentially pulling the weight of 2 people in this scenario, and you can see already gets the reset here. Even though Rammus comes in, he taunts me. And, you know, Jinx is essentially pulling the weight of enough people in this situation. Ezreal flashes in. We have the shields available. Does eventually die to the Nami, but the Nami gets the shutdown. And we've done a significant amount of work already. Now, the one thing that we did make the mistake here is the fact that the Ahri has come back into the fight. And she was the one that died very early on. You got to remember the death timers at this stage are super, super low. But again, 7 kills now on the Jinx, working towards the next item, which is going to be likely either a Bloodthirster or an Infinity Edge. Obviously, in this game, there's so much armor being built already, and the Jarvan is already considering some armor, I reckon, after the Black Cleaver. So obviously, we're going to have to think about a Last Whisper very early on here. But again, you'll see what Jinx is doing. Jinx has now made mid lane her home. So me and Jinx basically chilling in mid lane permanently. Why are we chilling in mid lane permanently? Because we want to keep forcing the issue. They're going to want to defend this tier 1 tower in the mid. They're also going to want to try and fight for these objectives. By putting Jinx mid, she's going to get a natural source of free, easy experience in gold, but also she's going to be right where the action is pretty much all of the time. And as you can see here, again in this situation, Jinx just being super aggressive because she can be. Gets backed up by my ultimate, flashes over to take out the Nami to get the reset, and obviously then gets straight onto the Ezreal, as she does. And as you can see, easy enough because she's just that strong. And this is what you have to do, you know, in this situation. This is what you have to do. Now, we kind of overextend here and again get caught out by one of the enemy teams, you know, one of the enemy team members that we were just not expecting to be there. Our team not quite able to back us up and kind of go for the dive. And honestly, Wukong just got outplayed by the Ahri charm. So we messed that up a little bit, and this is something that you don't want to do when you're in a 4v5. Every single decision and every single play counts when you're in this scenario. If you mess up even just one play in a 4v5, that can be the end of your game. If they get towers, or you let them back in through an objective fight, like, this has already put us in a pretty rough scenario. Now, Ezreal just massively overextended, is given Jinx an initial reset. She does get basically wombo comboed here, and because I don't have my ultimate, there's not much I can do. Luckily, the blue buff actually doing some serious work and basically body blocking Jinx for the most part in this scenario. We also have my ultimate available, which I end up using on the Wukong just to try and get the Ahri down. And that's now enough for us to go for this neutral objective. You can see that the Rammus is looking to come in here. You can see he's just kind of bouncing around on the outside, but he's not able to get into the pit, and that's the first objective secured. So we have step 1, win your lane. Step 2, abuse your power spikes. Step 3, force the issue, which is forcing objective fights like you saw we did over and over again. And step 4, as a result of step 3, is actually get those objectives. Things like dragons and things like barons, if you're strong enough to do a baron in a 4v5, are going to be enough for you to potentially kind of take control of the game through pure objective advantage. Now, what you can see here, unfortunately, again, was an overextension. Giving away any kind of kills, especially on your strong carry like the Jinx, is always going to be a bit of an issue. And as you can see, the Jarvan has now got armor. There's already a Thorn Mail for the Rammus. So Jinx starting to get countered a little bit by the building from the enemy team. And as you can see, just to be aware, Lux still AFK. Interestingly to me, Lux is actually level 7. So Lux's passive experience gain has got her to level 7. She's only actually 2 levels behind the enemy Ahri, or only 1 level behind the Nami. So even if she came back, she probably would still be moderately useful. However, she doesn't have much gold at all, which is one of the problems that you've got in an AFK scenario. I think, maybe giving someone who comes back from an AFK like a gold boost, or like putting them like within 1,000 gold of the enemy, that's probably too broken. But either way, just doing something to try to help alleviate someone returning not being so absolutely turbo useless. And again, this is we're revisiting step 2 here, going back to mid, trying to force the issue on something. You can see I accidentally ulted myself there because I'm a total pleb, but Jinx is strong enough for it to not really matter. Not able to end it. Oh, does end up getting the kills, the double kill from the Graves. And as you can see, does manage to get the kill. Taunt comes in from the Rammus, which ends up doing the work, but he's now getting chunked down. The armor's getting chunked out by the Wukong. And it's actually a really nice play from Wukong Graves. It's probably the first useful thing they've done all game. Unfortunately, they both decide that they can actually take on the Ahri. Now, the Wukong should have been able to kill the Ahri here, but he does actually end up backing off. Load of gold going our way because the mid lane tower's down. But again, for us, revisiting step 2, going back to mid, forcing the issue. Mid lane tier 1 is really important to open the map. So, by just continuing to push that wave, the enemy team has to respond to us, and then we can hopefully look to force fights as much as possible. I'm trying my best to defend this mid lane tier 1. Not the easiest thing to do in the world, unfortunately. We end up losing it. But again, we have to play purely around the Jinx in this scenario. She is 100% our super fed member on our team. And we have to kind of essentially do... Our game plan has to purely revolve around Jinx as, as a target. I have to end up ulting myself here. Jarvan does go in, but he has heavily committed to this scenario. I die by walking straight back into the redemption, but I wanted to be there to shield the Jinx if I could. This is again another mistake though. We made a huge mistake here, massively overextending. We had no idea where their team was, and they've kind of realized that if they just engage at this point onto the Jinx, they might be strong enough to kind of do something about it. But you do feel like you get a little desperate when you're playing in a 4v5, and that's a very reasonable thing. Like, you feel like you have to do something, and to be honest with you, you do have to make the moves. One of the things that I want to reiterate in this situation is that you need to win the game early, because there are ways that the enemy can deal with a 4v5, even if they've shat the bed like they have in this game, especially their bot lane. Even if they've really sucked, there are ways that you can win in a 4v5, and a lot of that is by just utilizing the side lanes. If you're in a 5v4 and you're the 5 and you're losing somehow, all you want to do is push side lanes, because the enemy won't have the resources to respond. You know, you need to push those side lanes, and they won't have the resources to respond. Now, we've seen the bot lane show themselves here, so immediately the pings are coming out to go towards the dragon, because again, if we can make that happen. Now, this is a bit of an error. Jinx walks over a ward, gets charmed into knockup, into Jarvan taunt, and unfortunately, just not enough to kind of get the work done here. So that was just an error on our part, and honestly, we don't even get the dragon, which is disastrous. We lose everybody. We don't get we get a kill on the Ahri, but that's it. And that's another big mistake. You know, the one thing that is providing a little bit of solace for us is the fact that Jinx is nearly at her 4th item. She's now picked up the Last Whisper, which is really important, because if you look at the armor being built up, there's Guardian Angel. We're going for a Dead Man's Plate on the Rammus as well. Like, you need Last Whisper in this scenario as Jinx to be able to carry this game. And honestly, we're making mistakes. We're making really bad mistakes when it comes to playing this game out. We've made 3 critical errors. It's actually a miracle that we are still alive in this game. We lose the mid lane tier 1. Now, that's actually not so bad. Mid lane tier 1 in a 4v5 is the best, inhibitor tower. Oh, sorry, mid lane inhibitor tower is the best inhibitor tower that you could hope to lose in this scenario. Mainly because you're going to get free waves shoving in mid, and you want your Jinx to be mid at all times anyway. So it's not that big of a deal. And you can see here, Ezreal ults the wrong way somehow. And again, has to end up flashing to get away and uses the barrier. So we've burnt a lot of really nice resources. And you can see we don't mind the inhibitor minions coming to Jinx, because that's free gold that she's going to get, and it's naturally going to push towards us pretty quickly. And it's the lane that Jinx wants to be in anyway. So we've done step 1, win your lane, which me and Jinx did do. Step 2, force the play on power spikes, which we've done with Blade of the Ruined King, but I don't think we've done it as well with some of the other items. Step 3, force the issue. Forced a little too hard. Luckily, we haven't been punished as hard as we maybe should have been, but we did force the issue in the later stages. Step 4, get objectives. Well, at least we've got the Ocean Drake. Obviously, the next one is the Elder Infernal and the Baron, so we'll have to see how we do with those. If you find yourself in a situation like this, where you're desperately trying to hang on in a 4 versus 5, you need to hope that you've got some sort of late game win condition. And for us, we have a good scaling Graves, a good scaling Wukong, and a good scaling Jinx. So there's definitely late game win conditions. Something else that's really good that you're seeing that the Jinx do here, that Joey is doing, and actually our team's letting happen, is giving as much gold to your hyper carry as physically possible. Jinx has 4,000 more gold than anyone on our team. You see Nami just gives away that early little kill here, and again, Jinx has a heavy engage from the Rammus. He gets knocked up. The armor has been shredded just a little bit. Just trying to keep Wukong alive, which we do. Jarvan jumps in, but the Last Whisper is there now, so he's a little easier to deal with. And you can see, if we just watch Joey, he's actually shredding through these tanks. Going to get a reset on to the Ezreal. Ahri trying to jump in, but can't quite find the kill onto Jinx. Jinx exits at the right time here. It's still technically a net loss for us, but it is more gold in the back pocket of the Jinx, and because the Rammus is dead, they're not doing the Baron. Killing the Rammus was the absolute #1 priority here in this situation. Graves has got a Wit's End. Wow, I didn't even realize that in game. We have a Wit's End Graves. Interesting. Not sure I'm in love with that build, Mr. Graves. Wukong hasn't really gone tanky, but has gone Black Cleaver, which actually is a really important item this game. Given the amount of armor that we're facing, you can see a Randuin's Omen and the Bramble Vest, another chain vest picked up by Jarvan. So, like, these are all really, really, really important things to avoid. Now, you can see, gonna get a rocket over the wall, lands into the Ahri. You do get that speed up on the Jinx rocket after the first few seconds. Pings for Baron coming down. We're going back to step 3, forcing the issue. That is a kill onto one of the biggest threats to Jinx in this game. And we're just going to run into the Baron. The other reason we're doing Baron is we saw the Rammus top. Exploiting any mispositioning by the enemy in a 4v5 is super important. And Rammus just not going to be able to respond quickly enough in this scenario. We boost the Jinx up. And again, just trying to play around the strongest player on our team. A couple of lucky crits onto a Nami or onto the Ezreal. He dives forward here. Jinx very frontline, but she has got the backing of me if she needs it with the shields. And you can see also picked up a stasis, which was a huge defensive upgrade. Now I end up dying, but who cares? Because we just end up cleaning up the entire fight. And here we have our jungler still alive on the back of a Infernal Dragon spawn, and we're looping back to step 4, taking objectives. So should be, with the Jinx, be able to take this objective relatively risk-free, as long as our Graves can smite. Gets charmed here. Ahri has now revealed herself by doing that and just gets bopped. So that's now a completely risk-free Elder Dragon. And that is a huge winning objective for us in this game. This is enough with the damage increase that we're going to get for the Jinx, having 2 dragons as well, plus the fact that we've now finished up a Bloodthirster. These are some great defensive tools combined with insane offensive power to give us enough to win the game. But I will be very clear. If you don't stomp your lane and get as fed as this Jinx, and you don't have the late game hyper carry potential, you're probably not going to have the same success. But I'm just showing you how, even if you have an AFK at level 1, it's not completely impossible to win the game. And the enemy team haven't played that badly, by all means. We've just taken steps to ensure that we put ourselves in the strongest position possible. The flash forward from Jinx there actually gets the reset, which is absolutely nutty. I alter her just to ensure that she's strong enough. We have the armor shred now, so the Jinx is actually able to get through this Rammus where physically possible. The double kill comes through onto the Nami too. Does get charmed. That was a good opportunity for Jarvan to potentially go for the knockup, but he doesn't. I mean, there was a good opportunity there for Jarvan to maybe chain CC and let the tower do the work. But you can see, nice knockup from the Wukong. Take down the Jarvan, who's not that tanky. And that is going to be a clean ace. And we should now see ourselves through and winning the game. I'm just going to show you the damage charts afterwards, because you'll see just how ludicrous. And I want to show you the gold charts as well, because you'll see how much of a disadvantage you are as a team. 70k damage, by the way, by a Jinx. I call this bot lane like the noob stomp bot lane for a reason. It's pretty easy to play, and as you can see, can literally win 4v5s. Where is the gold graphs? We were behind in gold all the way until the end. Like, for the most part, we were behind in gold for the whole game. Up to almost 10k gold behind, which is absolutely crazy amount of gold to be behind. But I'm just showing you, step 1, win your lane. Step 2, play on power spikes, item spikes, or level spikes. Step 3, force the issue. Run mid, run to objectives. Just make the enemy fight around your strong player. Claim objectives. We messed up a few times, and obviously, that's the step 4. And then obviously, the last step that you saw was just be lethal where possible. When there is an opportunity to win the game, you have to take it, even if it could be risky. You can't play the 100% safe game in a 4v5. You have to go for the win when you see it. In this situation, a single kill on the Ezreal was enough to kind of spark the engage to go for the full win. That was a very impressive game. Joey's an amazing AD carry as well, so I'm not going to take that away. If I see a single comment that's like, well, your AD carry is clearly very good, yeah, of course, but it's still a 4v5, and you guys in your respective elos could be that good as well, or have a game that is as good as this too. I'm not saying that you're going to win every 4v5 by following these steps. Clearly not. It depends on the team comps, and also depends on how well the enemy team plays. Like I said, there are ways to beat 4v5s if you're the 5, and a lot of that comes through pure split pushing by using the map pressure and the map advantage or the map pressure and the map scope to your advantage. But in this situation, we just kind of grouped up and forced fights around objectives over and over again, and it kind of worked out really well. Hope you enjoyed. It was a good game. Hope you learned a little bit, and I'll see you next time.